Hi, it's Larry here, Xbox's Major Nelson. Welcome to the official Xbox podcast. Another great week of games, and another great week of having my two good friends here, Rebecca and Jeff. Hey, gang.
Hey.
Aw, we're
What?
not just coworkers, we're friends.
You
I
are.
like that.
You are. Jeff and I text all the time. Rebecca, you and I don't text as much because you're so busy with other things, but we will.
We text a little bit. I enjoy the photos you send me.
Of my daughter?
Yeah, we should text more though. Yes.
I need to send you some of those. But anyway, welcome back, everybody. We're wow. When did it become October? I mean, it became October last week, but it just all of a sudden it's there.
You know, it's so dark. It's so cold. It's only going to get darker. It's only going to get colder.
Every darn year, this October just rolls
why
right
does
around.
this keep happening?
Well,
yeah.
It's interesting to your point, Rebecca, and I know we talk about the weather all the time, but Jeff and I in Seattle have been enjoying some unseasonably warm and dry weather.
Why the long face, Jeff?
First, we talk about the calendar, and then we talk about the weather. You know,
what else should we talk about?
What else?
Talk about meetings and email.
Talk about baseball.
Coffee.
Phillies made the playoffs. Oh my God, coffee!
About games.
I love a good cup of coffee.
Let's talk about video games, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, if you want.
Yeah, Rebecca, what have you been playing this week?
Yeah, so I got back from my trip to Europe. I was home for approximately like 3 days, and then I went to the Bay for a wedding. But I did have time to play. I started playing Grounded, which is available now on Xbox Game Pass. I know you guys have been playing too. Yeah, and I have to say, it really surprised me. I saw some of the different like trailers and videos that came out, and I kind of thought it would be a little bit of like not a kid's game, but like kind of more on like the younger demographic humor and stuff like that. And I thought it was going to be an action story game. And it is not at all. I was very pleasantly surprised that it's like survival. Has like RPG elements in my opinion. It kind of, I mean, I don't want to, say too much because I only just started playing in the last few days, but it kind of gave me that feeling of like, oh, I'm really into this. Like, I really want to play it. Like, I picked it up and I started playing this morning before I went to work.
Wow.
Like, that's how you know that
That's
I'm
when you
actually
know.
really interested in it. Yeah. It's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do when I get up. So what about you guys? You've been playing
Well,
too?
it's funny you say that because Jeff and I started playing it last week, Monday, I guess, is because it came out Tuesday.
Yeah, right when the 1.0 update hit,
and so we
Monday
were
or Tuesday,
playing, and we played a couple times since then, and it's been interesting. And Jeff, you can chime in, but I had the same kind of reaction. I mean, I knew what the game was about, and I even told Jeff this yesterday. I'm like, I think I was wrong about Grounded because I didn't think it was my kind of game. Because when I like to play games, I sit down, I like to have, finish the level or have a very specific beginning and end. And with this, there kind of is in terms of you're getting recipes and you're achieving certain things. But
there's a story.
Yeah, there's a story.
But there's a lot of sort of, I would say, open-ended prep that you need to do before you are ready to make it to that next area. And it doesn't necessarily hold your hand. There's usually an objective up there in the upper left, like, hey, you should try weaving a bandage.
Yeah.
You should try.
It's like, hey, reminder.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the next story objective. What it doesn't tell you and what you need to figure out is, am I strong enough to get there? How do I get there? There's no, there's a map of sorts, but it's not like, there's going to be an icon there and it's like, go right here. You kind of figure it out. And then, am I powerful enough to survive getting there? What am I going to find when I get there? And there's a lot of mystery there, which is really interesting. And so we had progressed to the next step, and we found ourselves face to face with a wolf spider, and
it promptly had me for lunch 3 times.
Yes, and while it was feasting on Larry, I was able to progress to where we needed to be. So it all worked out.
But it was yeah.
Well, it reminds me of the way that I played Skyrim, which was I kind of ignored the main storyline for the most part, and I just went around like sneaking and building my like fire casting skill and just doing like all these like different like side quests and rummaging through like bins all the time. And so I'm just kind of, I'm doing a little bit of the story, but so far I've just been like crafting and harvesting materials and analyzing them, and I'm getting a lot of joy.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of a challenge trying to find sap. So now we understand kind of.
Well, we've gotten pretty good at it
Yeah.
now. Initially, because I think that is one of the rarer things of the
At least
things
in the
that you
area
need
we're
pretty
in.
frequently. But then
Mhm.
we've found like chunks of it that you can use a hammer and get it out. So I think we're in a pretty good place now. Where you first spawn, you don't find a lot of that. But my favorite moment is we were taking out like a smaller spider. We need to find better weapons or craft better weapons.
and tell this,
And then no, I'm not. And then like an ant comes in and attacks the spider, and Larry just keeps hammering away, come what may.
and I hit the hitbox on the spider. Its eyes turn red, and all
The
of a
ant,
sudden,
you hit the ant.
The
is
ant,
what
the
you
ant.
did. The ant that was coming to our rescue, and then
Nice.
guess what? That ant killed us both. It was.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was,
like,
Was it just a red worker ant?
yeah.
It was one that had like the big mandibles on it, so it wasn't like a little baby one. There's a couple different
Okay.
red ant styles, and look, I've dealt with fire ants. I lived in Florida. Like, you don't want to mess with those things. Doesn't matter if
there are fire ants
3
in the
inches
game,
tall.
if I recall correctly.
Well, I think those are they fire ants? I don't know, but
don't
what
know.
I do know is you don't want to mess with them. And Larry messed with them, and
It was
we
an
learned our
accident.
lesson.
It was an accident.
We were just as dead. We were
Yeah.
just as dead.
Well,
But we were able to go past that. We had a great. The sense of discovery has been awesome.
Yeah.
And the sense of
Yeah.
like, can we do this? And then if we can't, what I do like is even though you will lose certain resources that are in your bag when you drop it, you still generally, we've been carrying our weapons,
progress
and our armor and
is
stuff
still-
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's
And you
good.
still, yeah,
And-
like what was it? I died, like it was really lame. I was killed by the mites on that like first one where you're trying to there's like the
Yes.
cable and there's
Yeah.
the mites eating the cable.
That's right.
I was killed by the mites. I was like, dang, I'm gonna have to go back and kill all those mites again. But then it actually like saved my progress. I was able to get my backpack, and then I just continued on. So it's not
We
as
need to get
painful of a
together.
death as I thought it would be.
The game is so much more forgiving when there's multiple of us taking on. We can gang up on certain insects. We can res each other, things like that. We can keep an eye out for each other with thirst and hunger and everything like that. So
I may recommend
yes.
something. Yes, I agree with you, Jeff. I want to recommend something when you play the game. And as Rebecca said, it's on Game Pass. Stop and take a moment, Rebecca, if you can, because there was a couple of times where I went up a blade of grass or a twig and just kind of looked around the world to give that sense of scale and how tiny you are. And it's there's the day night cycle is very interesting. Certainly you don't want to be out at night.
Yeah.
But we haven't run into any crickets yet. Come to think of it, Jeff, have we?
I don't know if crickets are in the game.
Oh.
They're not overly violent, right?
No, they're
but
not.
Then again,
but
I've never been.
They make a
an inch
beautiful
tall.
sound, and I have none up here in my
Oh.
backyard, so I kind of wanted to. But they must be very loud. 'Cause they rub their legs together. That's my cricket fact.
They're rubbing their legs together right now.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it's a lot of fun, and yeah, we do need to get together. And there is this concept, and Jeff did the interview last week with Adam of being able to have this game state that you can join if I'm not there, and Jeff can join. So we got to figure that part out.
Well,
Nice.
I eagerly await you guys wanting to jump in and advancing the story together. So
One of the other games, are you playing anything else before you? I got a couple things I want to talk about, Rebecca.
Please.
Okay. I'm just looking. I got the Overwatch 2 downloaded. I know they earlier in the week they had some, launch day server issues, so I think those are all passed up now. What else? What am I playing?
into the microphone, Larry.
I couldn't see it. The Destroy All Humans. I'm playing that.
You love
how is it?
a 1950s alien.
I do destroy. Thank you. Destroy All Humans Reprobed, and I don't know why. I've played all of these games, and I just think they're silly fun. So to the point of how I like the beginning and the end, it's like, okay, here's your mission accomplished. Here's your rating done. So playing that, of course, a little bit of Deathloop. I've saw Vertigo. I have Vertigo loaded on here. I don't know if you can see it.
I don't know what that is.
Well, it's an Alfred Hitchcock movie, and obviously story drones. I need to start this to see what that's all about. So that's
I had no idea.
Oh, Alfred
That it's-
Hitchcock.
yeah. For those of you that are Alfred Hitchcock fans, I have no idea how close it is to the movie or it's just titled. I have no idea, but that's one I need to get into. What about you, Jeff? What are you looking at?
Yeah, so as you see behind me, I'm playing the DioField Chronicle. I think I mentioned it last week, and what I've landed on what this game reminds me of. So if have you ever played like an RTS like Age of Empires or Halo Wars
Yep.
or Command and Conquer, and there are certain missions where you're only controlling a very small amount of characters, like a spy, or you're just like one person on horseback or something like that, and you're navigating around. That's kind of what this is. It's an RTS, but you're only controlling 4 characters at once, so it's not overly overwhelming. And you just sort of figure out, how do I interplay these characters together? Do I keep them together? Do I split them up?
Right.
How do I help them out with each other? Do I send my person on horseback over to pick up this treasure chest while the other 3 are doing this or that? And so I'm kind of like that. It's a strategy RPG, but it's just a lot more frantic because you have a lot less time to think about things. And
It's going in the background there, so I wanted to show it.
Yeah, it has like that just very like
Very
diorama
Game of
sort of
Thronesy.
look. Very Game of Thronesy of what you're seeing right there. And it's not courthouse, like castle intrigue, royal court intrigue. I knew the word court was in there somewhere. I just picked the wrong one. So anyway, having fun with that. And I did finish my second playthrough of Deathloop. I played it on Steam when it first came out last year. I finished it. We're going to talk more later in the show. I try not to fanboy out too hard. You can let me know how well I did or did not do there. But Dinga Bakaba, who is who is the game director on Deathloop and the studio head of Arcane Lyon in France, he joins us along with Harvey Smith.
These are 2 heavyweights in the industry. I know,
like luminaries of the industry. So from Arcane Austin, and he is, I believe, the game director for Redfall. And so we end up talking about Deathloop,
Dishonored, and Deathloop, Redfall. I mean, you just guys went right around the horn.
Yeah. So I mean, they're maybe my favorite studio. I think I'm just looking back and I'm like, I completely fanboyed out. And well, anyway, I thought it was really interesting and it was great. Just the ending in Deathloop, because there's the Golden Loop update, and for the ending, they pretty greatly expanded it and give you a little bit more resolution on what happens afterwards.
Right.
And
Dinga does a
really
great explanation of that as well during the interview.
Exactly. So I won't go into it too much, but I feel like this is a game. It's definitely landing on that all-time list for me. And I could see myself going through and playing it again, like every year. Could be like a yearly rite of passage, because having played it through it last year and playing through it, like I enjoyed it every bit as much. I discovered new stuff where I was like, is this new? Is this part of the Golden Loop stuff? Or is this, I just didn't do this last time. Even the way I played differently this time than I did last time. I was relying on different slabs, different powers, and different weapons. And so I can't say enough good things about Deathloop. I insist you play it. That's it. Go. Or I don't want to talk to you if you haven't.
That's good to know. Well, I am playing it, so you can talk to me. So that's kind of what we're playing this week. We got a bunch of games. In fact, we've got a bunch of games and some news coming out, Jeff. I think we'll roll into that, and then we're got some of the interviews later on that you teased up. So why don't you kick us off with some news? We got a lot to talk about.
Sure. This is a big anniversary year. I know that we celebrated last year the 20th anniversary of Xbox, but there's many other sort of Xbox related anniversaries that are hitting this year in 2022. We have an article about it on Xbox Wire, but let's play a little game here. It's called How Old? All right.
I'm not playing this game.
How old are you, Larry? No. All right. We'll start from youngest to oldest.
Okay.
How many years has Forza Horizon? How long has that franchise been around?
What is it? 9 years?
That's not a milestone anniversary, Larry.
It's 10.
Probably 10 or 15.
10. What about Dishonored?
15.
10. You're right, okay. Rebecca. So both Forza Horizon. So 10 years ago, 2012. The world did not end, if you recall that. Instead, we got Forza Horizon and Dishonored. It worked out really well for us. Okay, a little older here. How old is, again, anniversary year? So it's not going to be like, 6.2 or something.
20.
Or exactly. Age of Empires.
25.
25, Larry. Correct.
Quarter of a century.
Rebecca, older than you even. How about Fallout?
15
Any
to
guesses?
20,
20.
20,
20.
25.
20.
25. Wow.
So 1997, also a hell of a year. Fallout and Age of Empires
Yeah, that's- wow.
joined us.
Brilliant.
I think that might
What
have been the year
platform was
Seinfeld-
Fallout?
PC, I want to
on-
say.
Just
I don't
PC?
know that the
Okay.
original
Let's go take
Fallout
a
was
look.
on console. And of course, Age of Empires was on PC on Windows 95, probably. All right, last one, oldest
Huh.
of the bunch. Microsoft Flight Simulator. How old? What anniversary will it celebrate this year?
30.
40.
40. Old enough to be Dishonored's parent, you know? Yeah. So
It's a nice way
Age
to
of
put it,
Empires
yeah.
and Fallout can rent a car. Forza Horizon and Dishonored are in 5th grade. And
I just looked up
you
the
know.
original Fallout that came out in 97, Jeff.
Yeah.
Was available on Windows, Mac OS, Mac OS X, and MS-DOS. So that's
MS-DOS.
That's how old it
You would
is.
C: run.
Backslash. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. The original
Or
Fallout
EXE.
looks so cool.
Oh, look at that.
So anyway, a lot of big anniversaries this year. And
Well, you know what
look,
else has an anniversary?
Well, I hope it's related to this story.
20
But
years.
go on.
Xbox Live.
Xbox Live.
Oh.
So for these
20 years.
anniversaries, while it might be quote unquote our anniversaries, you all get the presents. So there's going to
You
be
get the
all
presents.
sorts of different things that we're doing throughout the month of October and beyond to celebrate. And there's a lot of stuff. I highly recommend you go over to news.xbox.com, but there's going to be new activities in the games. There's going to be special live streams, things you can download. There's going to be sales. There's going to be free play days for certain games, new playlists. There's going to be just a ton of stuff to help celebrate all of these anniversaries. Let's say like October 25th, there's going to be a big Age of Empires 25th anniversary broadcast. There's really a lot of stuff. We've talked about some of these things, and it's really more than I can go through in merely an hour-long podcast as we have here. But I highly recommend you check it out. Happy birthday, happy anniversary to all of
birthday
these franchises
to
and everyone
you.
who's worked on them throughout the years. And they're all going strong, really. So, I mean, in the last year, I've played something from all of these games. So that's pretty awesome. Like not everything gets to stand the test of time. When you mention these titles, it's not, oh, I remember that back in the day. It's like, no, I played the latest version of that. Like
It's still going.
last week. Exactly.
It's still
So, all right. So from talking about the anniversaries to what's next, and there's a lot of interesting and fun stuff to be playing and some spooky stuff to be playing, courtesy of Game Pass this month of October. So, available today, Chivalry 2, which is a multiplayer first-person slasher. Basically, if you want to live through these medieval movie battles, these big battles like you've seen from, cinema, is that a word? Where
Cinema's a
you've got
word.
lots of people coming together. I thought you'd appreciate that, Larry. Chivalry 2 sort of reenacts those. Also available by the time you hear this, Medieval Dynasty, which is more of a narrative-focused version, but taking place in a similar period of time. The Walking Dead complete first season is available, and also season 2. So all those by the time you listen to this. Let's think about Halloween. My favorite Halloween game ever is an RPG called Costume Quest, made by the good folks at Double Fine.
I remember that one.
I remember this came out. Actually, this was probably close to 10 to 15 years ago. A turn-based RPG where you go around trick-or-treating,
Right.
and your costumes in the mind of these children become like really
Which is in the
badass
twisted
stuff.
mind of Tim Schafer, which is amazing.
Exactly. Really enjoyed this one. And so that on October 11th, that's coming to Game Pass. Just a great turn-based RPG. We've got Evil that's coming, which is a multiplayer
Evil.
social deduction game. Scorn. Scorn was one of the first games revealed for Xbox Series X and S. And that is coming to next gen consoles, but also PC and cloud on October 14th. It is a atmospheric first person horror adventure game, very Lovecraftian, really
this
creepy.
This is the one for those of you that remember. It looks like it's got H.R. Geiger.
Geiger, maybe more Geiger than Lovecraft. You're right.
Yep.
So Geiger highly influenced the Alien movies, like
I see it.
really like skeletal, creepy, gross,
but very organic.
Yes.
This
Yes. Exactly.
this was the trailer from Showcase, right?
Where that person like pulled like something out of their gut. It was really gross.
So
so yeah.
I'm sorry, just looking online. The game was first announced in 2014.
Was
Okay.
it what? Oh my god!
12
Okay,
November
well,
2014. So that's when it
I
was
remember
announced.
back in 2020 we had shown this, and anyway, that you get to play it next week, October 14th. That's
We're gonna get an
Scorn.
interview. We'll get an interview with those folks. So
That will be fun.
Someone here is going to be doing that interview.
Yeah, don't eat lunch first. Speaking of lunch, let the rats eat your lunch because A Plague Tale Requiem is coming out on October 18th on cloud,
Nice.
PC, and next gen console, Xbox Series X and S. Of course, available day one with Game Pass. I can't wait to play this. I love the first one. We spoke with Asobo, about a month and a half ago, Larry, and they told us about how you're going to have like a lot more abilities and be a
More
little
rats.
less helpless. And so many more rats. So very much looking forward to that. And we'll be talking about that quite a bit. And so those are the big games really coming up between now and just 2 weeks from now. So
Busy.
Very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, fun.
You know what else I'm looking forward to? And we need to get back into this.
What would that be?
It launched this week. I haven't had a chance to play.
Overwatch 2?
Overwatch 2.
Did you play Overwatch, Rebecca? I don't remember. Oh yeah, Jeff and I. Well, it's funny, Jeff. For me, that game has. Certainly you and I had a lot of fun. But I just remember, and this is kind of an emotional moment I'm going to share. That was the first game that your daughter kind of grew up with. That I remember.
Oh, for sure.
Multiplayer.
For sure. She still has a Diva backpack that she was bringing to school today.
Aw.
So
it's
she
been
would
around
always
for half
play with
of
us
her
at the
life.
beginning, and she was a little unsure, and then she got her footing, and she's become really, really good.
She's been insufferable.
Nice.
She's been completely insufferable. But she is good. Anyway, so Overwatch 2, it's available now. It is a free-to-play game, so there's nothing holding you back. 5x5, very team-based oriented. There's new characters. Kiriko, who was announced during TGS, actually during our Tokyo Game Show stream as a new support character. I usually play a support, so very excited. There's a new support. There's Junker Queen, who's a new tank, and Sojourn, who is a DPS that has kicked my butt during that beta. So very, very interested in getting on there. There's tons of new dialogue, new outfits. There's a battle pass. New game modes, new maps. So there's really a lot to see. And this is what I like, next gen updates. So on Series X and S, you can enjoy Battlefield brawls at 120 frames per second if you're running at 1080p. Those really prize frame rate and have a display that can support 120 FPS or 60 FPS in native 4K. And jump into your matches faster with Xbox Velocity architecture. I noticed even in Overwatch 1 playing, you would go to character selection screen. If you had a Series X or S, you were going to get your character
choosing first. That was kind of the hidden thing is that when you because your X or S loaded so fast, like you get to choose first.
Yes, and look, I want to use Moira, and I want to get there first. So there you go. Anyway, available now. There's all kinds of stuff. So take a look. We've got more on Xbox Wire. By the time this hits, we should also have a tips post as well. Dead Space, the remake, coming out in January. That's available for pre-order. We've got a post from folks at Motive who are in charge of that. So that first Dead Space, it was very much like Alien, roaming around on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
it
exactly.
Was suspense versus action.
Horror. And then Dead Space 2 was more action. I love the original Dead Space. So scary, and yet I had to keep going. So looking forward to the remake. Not quite last, but it wouldn't be almost lunch for us recording this if we didn't talk about food. And Xbox, Doritos, and Rockstar Energy Drink are giving away Game Pass prizes and DLC. You can look for, keep an eye out for Doritos and Rockstar Energy Drink that might have Master Chief on the front, might have the PUBG guy that's got the helmet and the tie, that might have someone from Fallout or someone from Forza or Elder Scrolls Online or Madden 23. So there's all kinds of downloadables that you can find. So when you get your energy drink or when you get I prefer the Flamin' Hot Doritos, but whatever ones work for you, keep an eye out for Xbox characters and make sure you don't just throw away that bag. You're going to want to get your in-game content, those things. You're going to start to see those available very shortly.
It's rare that I say this, Jeffrey. I'm disappointed.
What?
You forgot one of the biggest pieces of news this week.
Last but not least, let me see if I guessed you. If I know Larry well, he's very excited that Let's Sing ABBA is available. I was saving it. So Let's Sing is a sing-along game, and this one is 100% about ABBA. I'll be honest, I don't know much other than Dancing Queen.
I don't either.
And there was and then there's the Mamma Mia movie, which I never saw, but I guess was a musical that
Pierce
had
Brosnan
all ABBA
sings
songs.
horrifically.
There you go. So over 30 classic hits that will take you right back to the era of platform shoes, flared pants, and disco balls, plus one new hit called I Still Have Faith in You. And I still have faith in all of you.
By the way, just to line up with 40 years, they've had a 40-year break. So when they went on a break, the first Flight Simulator was
They've been playing Flight Sim the whole time. It stopped them from making music. They were just very into it.
We're done.
Oh, wow.
Anyway.
Wait, is this one on Game Pass or is it just out now?
This is not. No.
Yeah. I don't even, I got to check this out. I mean, it looks like they have cuts of the videos in here, some of the original videos that, back in the 70s when I guess they were still videos then, or films or whatever it was, music, dancing things. So there's a mixtape. I'm fascinated by this because, who doesn't sing these songs when they're driving or cleaning the house?
Who indeed? Who indeed?
Yeah.
Rebecca, are you singing? Do you know any of their hits?
I like the gimme.
There you go.
That's what we always do that when I karaoke. It's big hit. So.
Okay. Well, you can now do it at home.
Yeah.
So Jeff,
sure my roommate would love
as
that.
usual, you've redeemed yourself.
So I knew you were gonna go for that one. So my work here is done.
It sure is. Anything else? Why don't we roll into the interviews? Rebecca is going to talk to Q Muhammad about Project Amplify, and then Jeff spends time with Harvey Smith and Dinga Bakaba from Arcane about Dishonored, Deathloop, and Redfall.
Welcome to the show, Q Muhammad. I know you've been on before, you chatted with Larry, but it's an honor to have you on now and chatting with me instead. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so do you mind just telling us a little bit about your day-to-day? What is it that you do for Team Xbox?
I am a product manager. I'm on the Xbox Experiences team, so I work on one of the teams that helps put together the dashboard on console and some experiences on PC and the mobile app.
Hey, that's pretty valuable real estate, so that's important stuff.
Yes.
All right, and then you're also a co-lead of the Blacks at Xbox Employee Resource Group, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your work there?
Just finished my tenure with James. So shout out to the new co-leads, Michael Siebert and Katrina Green, carrying on the work. But yeah, I was a co-lead for Blacks at Xbox. We do a lot of different initiatives in the team. Basically, our main goal is to provide a community for the Black employees at Xbox. So we do a lot of social team bonding things amongst ourselves. We do a lot of cross-community events with other employee groups at Xbox, like Women in Gaming, LGBTQIA. And we, one of the things that James and I ushered in as us being co-leads was an education outreach initiative. And so the Project Amplify project was kind of related to that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the employee resource groups are so important in retention and like cultivating a good atmosphere where people actually want to work and feel welcome and can learn from each other. I'm part of the Asians at Xbox and Women in Gaming, but so that's great to hear. So you mentioned Project Amplify, and that's the main reason that we have you on the podcast today. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. A lot of us in Backs, and I guess particularly James and I as co-leads, we're we have a heart for giving, I'll say. And we do a lot of volunteer opportunities to like talk to students or, help run workshops and things like that. And we wanted to be able to scale our impact there and provide a free shareable resource for folks. It's like, we know we can't say yes to every panel we get asked to do to talk to students or to folks who want to enter the games industry. And so we're just like, oh, if we had a video resource that for the times we have to say no, that we could always share that and just have them be out there in the world for folks that's just discoverable on the internet.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I've spoken to students a few times also just about careers in the gaming industry. It's time consuming, I get it. But
Yeah.
I just think it's so important because especially I in particular love talking to students because I don't have a technical background. Like I never would have thought that I was going to end up in gaming. I'm terrible at math. And here I am still working in gaming, but it's in a communications role. And so I think it's just so important to like tell students and young adults like, hey, there are other paths to working in an industry that's fun like games, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of folks don't know the amount of opportunity that exists in the world, period, but like in games. Because if we do go and talk to kids, sometimes the question is like, oh, do you just play games all day? Like they don't know what it means to build and make games, right? And so the earlier you introduce somebody to something, the earlier they have the opportunity to build skills and pursue that passion. And so I know when I was in high school and college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do and kind of like stumbled into finding gaming. If I had known earlier, it's something I could have, started pursuing earlier. But I think your point around like getting in through different avenues, like that's one thing we wanted to accomplish with Amplify was kind of highlight the different roles that are in games because not everyone wants to be a programmer. And if you don't like coding, you don't like math or anything that you think gaming is, that's okay. Like games are also art. So if you like to draw or you like to write or you like to make music, well, games need music.
All of those things. Yeah.
Even like marketing and HR, you can do that stuff in gaming. It's a pretty open space.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I know that in the Project Amplify video series, so the video series is on the ID at Xbox channel. There's a playlist over there. I'm gonna go and watch yours after we're done chatting. But it's cool because there's all these different disciplines and people that work on different things at Xbox. So yeah, it's great that there's such a variety of like voices and just different like roles that people have there.
Yeah. We try to show folks at different like 10 years, folks who've been in the industry for like 5 years, people who've been there for like 20 years, folks who've been at Microsoft their whole career, folks who've hopped around. So so people can see different paths and different journeys.
Yeah. And then one last aspect of Project Amplify that I wanted to just mention or talk about is just the different resources that we have available. So on the Xbox Wire post, there's I think resources to different like lessons. Like I know I saw one for like I thought like C# or C++. Yeah. Have you done any of these? Are you familiar with these?
I haven't done these ones in particular. They were provided by one of the Blacks at Xbox employees who, well, an Xbox employee, but a member of BAX who works in the Xbox Game Camp, and which is also targets, like helps people get into the game industry. So we just knew we wanted to have something actionable for folks to if they were interested, like, hey, here are some art tools that you can look at. Here are some introductory coding things that you could do, and just give people the opportunity to get their hands dirty if they felt inspired.
Yeah, I love that. I've always kind of like joked that I wanted to learn how to code, and the resources are definitely out there. We'll see if I actually get around to it. But either way, it's good that that's out there for other students or young folk or people who want to just learn. So, yeah, Project Amplify, pretty cool. Check out the video playlist or the Xbox Wire post. And thank you so much again for joining us, Q. It's been great to chat with you.
It is just an incredibly exciting time for fans of Arcane's unique stealth or not stealth. Play it any way you want, but it'll probably be different than the way your best friend played it type of game. I'm the opposite of Dishonored, to be joined by two people who are responsible for legendary titles such as Dishonored, Prey, Deathloop, and coming up next year, Redfall. We're going to talk some spoilers here, just mild, maybe a little bit. So just you might want to keep that in mind if you haven't played through Deathloop or if you haven't played through Dishonored or anything else. So on my right, you've got Dinga Bakaba, the studio head of Arcane Lyon and the creative director of Deathloop. And on my left, Harvey Smith, the studio head of Arcane Austin and the creative director of Redfall. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining. And I think the main reason we're here, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about, the main reason we're here is we're actually celebrating 10 years of Dishonored. This is something you both worked on. How has it changed your lives and the lives of those at Arcane?
I'll start. I'd say it did change my life in many ways. I was actually living in the Netherlands. I'm French, but I was living in the Netherlands at the time. Came back to France for Arcane. It was one of my dream studios. I played, Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, loved it. And I had this very intense interview with Harvey here, Raphael, Julien. And I remember my first day when I got, the project was pitched to me over a corner of a table, this is what we are doing, and this is our vertical slice, yada, yada, yada. And look, this is a bunch of concept art. And I was like, please, do you have some handcuffs so I can handcuff myself to the radiator? I don't want to go. This is fantastic. I loved it. It was love at first sight, and it was the start of many great things for me. So yeah, it did change my life.
Yeah, and same for me. I could echo so many things. Like I remember that day when Julian Roby contacted me and Raphael Colantonio, founder of Arcane and co-creative director of Dishonored. And we were about to go to lunch. We had interviewed a couple of candidates. We weren't that thrilled. And Julian over in Lyon, we were in Austin. He was like, you got to stay for this next candidate. We were like, okay. And we talked to Dinga and it was just electric. We loved Dinga instantly. And so we all worked on Dishonored 1, Dishonored 2 together. Seeing him go on to do Deathloop is like honestly profound. Seeing him run Arcane Lyon along with Sebastian Mitton and the others there is profound. It's like a highlight of my career, honestly. But in terms of Dishonored changing our lives, my God, yes. It was like we had all done cool stuff before. Like Arcane had done Arx Fatalis or Dark Messiah. Me and Ricardo Bear, who's co-creative director of Redfall, had worked on the original Deus Ex over 20 years ago. We worked together for over 20 years with some other people that are here at Arcane Austin. And like something like that happens once and it feels like lightning in a bottle, feels like a lucky event, a lottery ticket or something. But when you get it all together again and you get that opportunity and it happens again and you see another team going through that same thrilling arc where the players are responding and the whole world is paying attention, it is magical.
So I feel like we're getting that Arcane magic from both Austin and Lyon. That there's 5,000 miles between you, 7 hours of daylight, and how do the teams keep that sort of like that common DNA together and that common feel?
Yeah, I'd say it's a lot of it centers on the games, like the games we love. We share, most of us share a certain passion for making a certain type of games. We specialize in making these types of games. We talk about them. We remember them fondly. Not only our games, but the games that inspired them. And so I think that's, I think it's the the games that are at the center of this very special studio that is Arcane, and of course the teams and the people who carry. Some of them work on those mythical games. Some of them work on Dishonored 2. It's a bit of that. I think we're connected at the very least through that, and through to make these types of games, you need to think a certain way. And even when sometimes I meet some people from the Arcane Austin team I have never worked with, and we have a quick conversation, it's very clear that we speak the same language. It's very interesting.
Yeah, even when we hire people, we just have these tenets of design that we fall back on, and it resolves 80% of arguments at work, and it helps us hire the right people. We don't always want to hire people who think just like us. But at least this is unifying direction, right? And I would also say, and Dinga is like a living proof of this through Deathloop, that we don't just stick to a blueprint. Like we do make games that share the same DNA, but we take risks. Deathloop has multiplayer components. Redfall goes open world, but they all overlap. It's like a Venn diagram with the same shared values around improvisational game mechanics and narrative-rich worlds, an atmospheric kind of vibe, our stylized art, an intention to immerse you in our worlds.
So we'll talk a little bit about Redfall coming up, but Deathloop recently released on Xbox. Dinga, how has it been like seeing Xbox fans react to the game for the first time?
Oh, I mean, it's it's been history repeating itself. Like seeing that surprise of people, seeing some people, fall in love immediately, seeing some people just bounce off of it. Yeah, it's I see where they're going. It's not my thing. It's really this dialogue that I think we live for as game creators. We live for this dialogue, and seeing all these new players. It was actually an interesting moment. We sent to each other in the, with the team, we sent to each other our memories of the first launch, like it was a long time ago or something. But it's, those feelings again, and getting to play with people, which is honestly, for us working for Arcane, it was a new thing, being able to play against people, invade them, seeing sometimes a tweet of someone say, "Hey, I killed someone from Arcane, it was awesome," etc. It was really good. Myself, my younger brother has an Xbox, so I could actually finally, play with him and see him play Deathloop. It was really cool. So it's been magic a second time.
I highly recommend leaving the invasions on. You might think, well, it might interrupt my, a good run or something like that. But the memories that I've got occasionally outsmarting a Juliana, I'd say I'm batting about 500 on human Julianas coming into my game. But definitely the things I'm remembering the most from this playthrough. I'd love to talk a little bit about the Golden Loop update, specifically a new ending. I finished the game last weekend. Personally, I found, I don't want to give too much away, but personally I found it more satisfying than what the previous much shorter ending. What made the team go back a year later and say, we should flesh this out more?
Yeah, so, well, you mentioned it, we are going to talk a bit of spoilers. I will still try to be
Just
careful.
A little bit.
So I would say we are making we made this game about this character who wants to break this perfect system but by doing so he has a price to pay. In the story he has some responsibility in what's happening, and we always wanted the ending to be, I would say, a little bittersweet. The game is about the loop, the death loop. Once we are out of it, anything can happen, and that's what life is about, in a way. You get out of the known pattern, and then you get to the unknown, and that's life for you, actually. So because of that, we didn't want an ending that was too celebratory, but at the same time, we felt that it was keeping the same kind of mystery of what's happening after, etc., leaving some open questions for interpretation. We still wanted to have a little bit of, I would say, emotional resolution, or at least teasing the emotional resolution between some of the characters, because that's something we focused a lot on Colt and Juliana and their relationship. And what we discovered is that actually the ensemble cast of the Visionaries really resonated with people. And, we put a lot of effort in that, of course, but it was still pretty magic to see that. So we wanted to, give an opportunity for these characters to have a last send-off, come to the front of the scene and bow like in the theater, and then, go into whatever is next for them. So it was, I think it was a feedback that we got from some players, and we said, how can we, try to listen, but at the same time not betray our initial intention, and hopefully, we're seeing very good, feedback from people who, who've seen it. So yeah.
I personally appreciated it, having beaten it last year and then coming through and finishing again this. So I do appreciate that. I will say afterwards, I spent a couple of hours on YouTube digging through things. No matter how thoroughly you play, there's still stuff you miss, and I missed quite a few things. There seems to be I would say a current of, hey, I think this means that Deathloop is connected to this larger universe. Now, you don't have to confirm anything, but I feel like I have to ask. There seems to be some sound hints. There's a few other things. Do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, so it's funny because it was nice to have a game that is about this puzzle. So yes, there is this story that you're going through, etc., but all around you is a lot of little puzzles, little mysteries, and due to that, we have a number of systems that will make sure exactly what you mentioned. Not everyone has seen the same thing. Not everyone has heard the same song that you might have heard, hidden somewhere. Not everyone has seen every room, etc., etc. So it was nice to see the community pick together, pick on the little clues that we did sprinkle everywhere. That yes, indeed, we envision Deathloop to be happening in the future after Death of the Outsider. So it's something that we didn't want to make something too big about it, because Deathloop is its own story, it's its own character, it's its own time period that we wanted to flesh out, and its fashion and its music, etc., etc. So we wanted that, but at the same time, there was a lot of things that we wanted to say. Hey, so after Death of the Outsider, obviously the Outsider is not in function anymore after that, clearly. And we always wondered about what would happen after that. And as we were making Deathloop, we said, hey, that could be one of the things that could happen after that. So we have a certain timeline to link that. And there is a lot of clues actually in the game. There is some that are obvious. One of them is really spoilery, so voila. But there is a lot of small things like and some that were under people's nose all the time, but people are just figuring out. My favorite about that is actually we have a shotgun that's called the Heritage Rifle that can switch to different modes between scatter shot and slugs, etc. And everyone has been seeing that one. It's called Heritage Gun. It's from the Imperial armories, etc., etc. Mm-hmm. But actually, on the side, there is a little logo that you can barely see. But now that we've added idle breaks, that where the character plays with his gun, etc., etc., you can actually see that the logo is actually Dunwall Tower. So it's pretty clear.
Okay.
So there is a lot of little things like that, be it a character talking about a concept that is very unique to the Dishonored world, and then you can start to say, hey, wait a minute. So if this is the Dishonored world, where can it happen? And then you can actually follow the thread. And of course, it all kind of makes sense for us. So it was nice to have this little scavenger hunt inside the scavenger hunt, so to speak. So yes, there is and then when you just take a step back and look at the world, the magic and the technology, there is some things about classes and inequalities, even though that's something that those characters flee, but you can see that those differences are still there. There is how do you say that? We try to see everything as an evolution, but each time they mention the past, either we were vague enough or we disguised in I would say natural ways the names. Like they talk about the motherland and not about Tivia, but you can definitely once you know, you can unravel everything, and yes, it does make sense. So it was nice for us to be imagining one of the futures of the Dishonored world, and to have that make sense. And I mean, hopefully that answers the question.
Well, I think we'll see a lot more of that scavenger hunt now unfold on YouTube, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. Harvey, wanted to ask you. I mean, next we're going to be really turning our attention to Redfall, next big arcade game for us to get excited about. I really appreciated that long discussion that you and members of your team had. I think it was around QuakeCon, showing more of the game, and also just sort of, the design, the elements behind it and the thought behind it. So what's now, and what's between now and whatever the game's hitting next year?
So right now the team is hard at work. Everybody always assumes that game development is like a stair step up, when in fact it's kind of like bumping along, and then at the very end it rockets upward. And so the beginning of projects is always cool because it's kind of blue sky. You have this idea, like, what if we took the Arcane values, we set it in New England? It's kind of spooky, gothic, and we went open world, and then we allowed, you can play it single player, feels like Arcane's, or you can play it with up to a team of 4. And so that's a really cool phase of the project. Then there's this long middle, and there are times when you ask yourself, is it going to come together? And then there's the final stretch, and it just feels like, you start to see magic on a daily basis, right? The audio team here is amazing. All the people I work with are such an inspiration. But like, the audio environment will come together, the lighting will come together, performance tweaks will begin to happen. Level designers will make little tweaks here and there, and like, people are fixing things left and right, and adding a little narrative touch or something, and it just like starts to feel like home. It starts to feel like one of our games, and there's a synergy that happens near the end. And so, spooky New England, set in the modern world. This is a new thing for us, trying to take something very familiar and add the exotic to it. So Redfall.
I would love for you to just dig in there just a little bit more, and we can wrap up here. How would you describe what is an Arcane game? I feel like I can feel it and I know it, but how do you describe it internally?
When we talk about it, the overlap between all of our games, we talk about a hybrid of first-person shooter and role-playing game. It's neither, but it's both. We talk about game mechanics that can be used creatively. Players often solve problems in ways we couldn't have anticipated, or we could have anticipated, but there's no direct path there, right? Like, it's by combining things. We talk about a narrative-rich environment, even if it's not a heavy plot game with lots of reading or talking or whatever. There's a coherent sense of who lived here, what happened here. There's a lot of environmental storytelling where we just take props and scenes and environmental stuff and build the scene, and you have to infer it when you get there, and that feels a little more intelligent. There's some use of vertical space. Think of, what am I leaving out? Often stylized art, of course. Yeah, I always forget the artists.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and the joke is, and each time we try to see, Harvey mentioned it before, each time we try to see how far we can stretch the formula and how much we can play with this philosophy. I think if you're thinking about immersive sims, that's one thing. But if you're thinking about Arcane, it's always about exploring in that space and not only just reciting. So I think that's
This is
Harvey,
strong exploration. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Awesome. I want to thank you both for joining. I want to say happy birthday, happy anniversary for Dishonored. Exciting times playing Deathloop on Xbox. Really exciting stuff coming down the line with Redfall. We'll definitely want to be speaking to you more, but I just want to thank you so much for joining us and celebrating this awesome moment in the history of Arcane.
Great job this week on the interviews, all. I love when you guys get to fanboy out. Jeff?
Well, I didn't know that Dingo was going to confirm that, because I'd said
confirm what?
Weekend,
say it again in case people missed it.
Okay, yes, there were some very strong hints if you play Deathloop, especially in many places, but definitely in that new ending and just in the ending segment in general, regardless of what you end up doing there. I'm really trying to dance around some stuff here. That the game takes place in the same universe as Dishonored. And so that world, the world building for Dishonored is just amazing. There's a game where I read all of the lore and the sort of world of Dunwall and Karnica and all these places. And so the fact that it's I need to see the map, because how do they connect? Where exactly is Black Reef? And
right.
And so the fact that they don't just have like a similar looking, but there were a couple things. Like, in Dishonored, you blink, which is like the teleport, and you have a slab that allows you to shift in Deathloop, and there's a couple of other things like that had me thinking. So that confirmation is there. YouTubers were talking about it, suspecting. We have it. We have the confirmation.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's very thoughtful of the developers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have them do that. And then, my ears perked up when I was listening to that interview, Jeff, about Redfall, because as somebody who grew up in New England, I'm interested to see how they're going to bring a quaint New England town to life in the very Arcane way. So stay tuned on that. And then Rebecca, thank you very much for chatting with Q about Project Amplify. A lot of excitement around that program, isn't there?
Yeah, totally. It's always nice to meet other folks from within Xbox, especially people who are in kind of, we'll say like non-traditional disciplines. So, not just an engineer or someone who does coding, but it's really cool to talk to other like project managers and people who are just interested in games. And that's how they start working on it rather than, just having that technical background. But another thing too with, which Q touched on was like Game Camp and then Project Amplify and like Xbox. I just love that Xbox has these initiatives where we're trying to reach, the next generation of developers and try to find the people in like underrepresented communities and people who are interested in gaming. Like Game Camp was launched a couple years ago.
Yep.
And, that's their goal, is to bring these resources and to bring like learning opportunities to people who are, from underrepresented communities and basically help promote like more diversity within the gaming industry for the next generation.
Yeah. To your point, a couple of weeks ago, I think I talked about this. I was down in Atlanta for Game Camp, and I met everybody I met was interesting, but a couple of really interesting folks stood out to me. One of them was this young lady who does narrative design, and she has an English major. And again, people don't think English major in the games industry, but I was like, I gave her my card. You need to stay in touch with me because I think she's going to do really big things. So it's a great program, Rebecca. Where do people go to find more information out about Project Amplify?
Yeah, we have a full blog post on it on Xbox Wire, but then we also have a video playlist on the ID at Xbox YouTube channel, and that's where you can see all the different testimonials from the folks who are participating in Project Amplify. And I just listened to Q's this morning. I'm listening to Sarah Bonds as soon as we get off the podcast recording. But there's some good stuff on there from some really smart folks on Xbox.
And I want to first of all, thank you for that. And I want to point out that if you are listening to this on, iTunes or Google Podcasts or, try any of these other podcast services. If you go to YouTube or Spotify, you can see us. You will see our lovely faces, and you'll see some of the interviews and the folks that are participating here. So I just want to let folks know that if you're interested in seeing what we look like, you can. I don't know why, but you can see what we look like and see you can see Jeff cringe at me on a weekly basis.
It's everything I can do to not just make stupid faces when you mention these things. So listen to us on audio. It's certainly the better way, or just like cover part of the screen.
Like
Rebecca.
Yeah, just cover my part.
You come ready to go. I'm wearing
There
an
you go.
old shirt.
Okay, Jeff and I, we'll put you full screen like we are now. But anyway,
There we go. Yeah.
All right, gang. Fun week this week. Great job on the interviews. If you go to news.xbox.com/podcast, that's where you can find the podcast. It's all in there. I've got some of the links to some of the things that they mentioned during the interviews and some of the things that Jeff mentioned here. So we're gonna wrap it up now. Rebecca, are you with us next week? I don't recall.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be moving at the end of the month, but I'm here the next couple of weeks, I think.
Okay, good. I know that it's always a pleasant surprise when you
Let's
show
play
up.
Grounded together.
So, yeah, let's do that. Let's play some Grounded together and we'll have some fun there. So, all right, gang, we'll see you guys in the backyard. Bye-bye, everybody.